Hi everybody, in this episode we're going to look at early spring maintenance on Japanese maples. Hi again everybody. So in this episode we're going to look at some maintenance techniques that I use to get this show tree ready for the spring. So right now, if you notice, I'm going to zoom in a couple seconds here, that the buds are actually full pushing at this point. They're not big enough. They're pretty close. I've been watching this for a couple days now. They're almost big enough to start plucking, but not big enough to pluck yet with the tweezer. They're still pushing growth. Right now, my goal is, in this episode, is to show you how far I trim back on the silhouette to really start ramifying it. And again, I'm going to show you that technique really close up. Usually once I do this technique, I really don't show the tree just because it'll take about a year for it to push out. A lot of these growths has been on it for about 2-3 years. You can see just by how many sections there are. But in this one's really easy to show how far I cut everything back. And then I'll come back to an update video probably in about a week or two from now after I do this initial pruning to go and show you how to do some bud plucking for Japanese maples. And that's a whole nother video by itself, just how the techniques kind of works. So let me turn the camera around and just join us for today. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Let me just switch the camera around. You can see, let me pull the buds there. You can see these buds are already like pushing. They're not big enough to do some leaf plucking at this point, or bud plucking at this point, but really the objective of this one is show how far I cut back on some of these buds. So in Japanese maples, each node will extend. The length of the extension is based on how fast you can pluck it. So if you don't do a leaf bud pluck early, this length will increase. So your goal is to have the shortest inner nodes possible. But again, I was growing this tree out for its silhouette, its vigor, to heal some of these big wounds. You can see some of these big wounds I've been trying to cut over. That's why I'm kind of let it grow and then push back, grow and push back. So I like to cut it down to its first nodes. So right here, oops, sorry. Okay, first nodes. And then these two buds will push out and then they'll divide again. So I'll find its nearest node. Okay, push that back. You can do this at a show too, but I don't usually do this at a show because you ruin your silhouette. I leave a stub for it to die back. That's just something I've learned to do. It will resend. It'll die up to that node itself. So that's kind of the cool part about Japanese maple. It will, see, there's a bud right there. I'm gonna go back to that one. There's a latent bud right there. We can see that. So I'm gonna force it to go that way. I'm gonna cut that in half. And you don't want basically a node or a bunch of clusters of buds popping once, and that's, you can get these knuckles and they look really ugly. Some of these knuckles, and see, like this branch is really strong. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna cut it back to here. Okay. Anything that's going straight up will be cut off. Any super strong nodes will be cut back. Just kind of soften its silhouette. I'm going to try and leave some of the bottom branches to extend as much as I can. And it's not being ruthless. Some people say, you're cutting all your branches off. I'll leave some of the weaker branches on. Let me move my camera, sorry, over here. And it's just a slow process. You're just really thinning the branches out. And this is a kiyohime, so it will literally it'll be ramify itself. It's really self-ramifying. It's really gratifying type of species. The hard part was obtaining them. If you can find a source for kiyohime, you're in a run in here. So here's an example. Let me bring this camera a little bit. You see this whorl right here, this branch right here? You can see that one. There's 4 branches. I'm gonna select the ones that go to the side. The top one's gone, bottom one, and that just to the sides, and I'll trim it back down to 2 nodes. And I'll clean up the center a little bit. Okay. So that's what you're doing. You're just cleaning nodes, or branches in this case, down to 1. I always try and select the shorter of the nodes. Sometimes you don't get that choice, and you're gonna either have to kind of prune through it really quick. So I'm gonna turn the camera around. I'm gonna kind of speed through this process. You can see how quick it could go. This is kind of like the finished product so far. I went through, I trimmed all the long nodes down to a single or 2 nodes here. Anywhere where congestion occurs, where you have 4 to 5 buds in a node, I removed them down to 2. They're not ready yet for bud plucking at this point. Maybe about a couple more days actually. I'll go in and I'll remove that center bud. I can see remove that center bud with a pair of tweezers, and that will reduce the length of each of these nodes, and that's when we're starting to get that refinement piece in the case. Right now, all I'll do is water it in full sun and let it grow. I'll probably start fertilizing in about maybe a week or 2 after its main push. Other than that, just keep it watered. It's really right now in Southern Cal, it's getting really hot, so I'm going to keep this well watered as I can for the next until summertime. And I'll update again probably late spring, so you can see what it looks like when it's actually I'll make an update in the next couple weeks on bud plucking, and then I'll do another video later in spring when this is in a full canopy, and I'll start cutting the canopy down to 1 node or like 50% coverage of leaves. So until then, thank you for joining us today. Like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Bye-bye.